With the launch of the iPad, Apple developed a new kind of iOS device. The iPad size sets it apart from other iOS devices like the iPhone and the iPod Touch. Because of its size and proportion, a page viewed on a tablet should be laid out differently. Let's take a look at how the previous page looks on our iPad simulator here. You can see that it's a little bit too wide and it really wouldn't work as a menu on an iPad. So we need to change the way that this page looks, but really only on an iPad. It looks really good if you look at it on an iPhone 4. Looks about the right size. So we need to work on just the iPad version. And we can do that through something called media queries. So we can adjust the size of a document or any styles within a document by adding media queries. You can add media queries in two different ways, and it depends on how you are using your style sheets. In this particular file, I'm using embedded style sheets that are already in the same document that I'm looking at. A lot of times you'll be using external style sheets. If you're using external style sheets, you would type in some code like this to specify a style sheet somewhere else in the structure of your website. Now, if you want to use media queries, in this case, you would add the word media here and put your media query within these quotes. Because we were using embedded style sheets, we're going to do it a little bit differently, but the commands are going to be exactly the same. To add a media query, we add the @media keyword here, and we specify the type of device that we want to be using. And then we define a series of style sheets for that device. So in here, I'm specifying that I want the screen of this device to be 768 pixels. That's actually the device width of the iPad. And we can also specify an orientation. And in this case, I specified a portrait orientation for this device. So whatever I type in here will only be applicable to an iPad device that is in its portrait orientation. So let's see what happens when we redefine one of the styles in our page. So for example, if in the vertical orientation, I don't want to show the navigation, I can redefine the way the nav element works on this page and set the display of that element to nothing. If I refresh my page on the iPad, you'll see that the menu doesn't show. That's kind of typical of a menu. A lot of times when you're working with an iPad and in vertical orientation, you don't really need to see the menu. You want to see the menu maybe or in the horizontal orientation, or you maybe want to have a button that pulls up a menu. But a lot of times you want the maximum amount of real estate to be available to you. So let's type in another media query that controls this page when the iPad is in horizontal orientation. So as you can see in here, we're targeting a media device that has a width of 768 pixels and an orientation of landscape. So all we have to do now is set the display of this element to be a block level element. Let's see what that looks like. We're going to take our iPhone simulator. Right now it's still set to iPad. We're going to rotate it. Okay, so as soon as I rotate the device, I can see that the menu shows up. Let me rotate it again. And you'll see that the menu disappears. Let's rotate it to the right again. Now, this menu looks pretty good, but it's still too wide, so we need to change the width of this menu when the iPad is in its horizontal orientation. And we'll add a little border. If we refresh this page, you'll see that we have now a shorter border device. But we have a little bit of problem with this margin. So we need to zero out this margin. Now you can see that this menu adjusts so that it appears at the very top of the screen. Now we may want to give this a little bit of a background color to separate it from this side of the device so that we can put some different content over here. Now you can see that we've made a separation of the menu from the content area, and we can target these two different areas if we want to, only on a horizontal orientation of this device. Using media queries allows you to target different devices and orientations. It lets you have a lot of control over how your page looks on different iOS devices.